can't win hockey games when you take 4 penalties in the offensive zone. Hello everyone and welcome back to Bolts Breakdown and a playoff edition of Bolts Breakdown. And this was a frustrating game one to watch. The Lightning lose 4-3 to the Montreal Canadiens in overtime in game one of the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. And it's hard when you get so much hype for the playoffs and then team loses like that in game one. I mean, your team could have lost like the Dallas Stars did that yesterday and got blown out 6-1. And I still think that's going to be a great series. I think that series is going to go 7. I think this series is going to go to 7. This game showed that this series is going to be tight every game. But it's just frustrating when you know your team could play better. And we'll get into that in a second when we get into the breakdown. But there were key moments in the game where I thought the Lightning were on pressure and took some bad penalties. And that ended up losing them the game. So, getting into this breakdown, in the first period, about the first 10 minutes, I would say things were even. The Lightning were leading the shots by a lot through the first 2 periods. And I felt the Lightning were going to score first, and then bad turnover behind the crease. Gage Gonzalez turns it over. I don't know why. I think it was Radish was back there with Chafee. I think he was waiting on the puck, but nobody was in front to cover the guy. No one was in front to cover Josh Anderson. Josh Anderson buries it, and it's 1-0. And this isn't on Vasilevsky at all. This is a tough goal because the goalie's sitting against the side goal, waiting for the puck to come out, comes down in front, next thing you know, it's in the net. And it went on the glove side, and I see people on Twitter getting at Vasilevsky for that, like, hey, it's a bad goal to give up. Try stopping a puck. Like, you're not going to stop one yourself. Come on, man. So it was 1-0 after 1, and I actually felt in a good spot. I felt the Lightning were outplaying Montreal for most of this game, especially in the first period. They just gave up this bad chance, and Montreal took advantage of it. And then midway through the second period, Lightning get a good power play, and they just keep getting shots. Then finally, Darren Radish cracks through on a beautiful slap shot that beats Dubas on the corner, and that made it 1-1. And then the Lightning kept the pressure up. Not even 29 seconds later, it's Brandon Hagel, and Hagel had a hell of a game. And that was a great backhand, and I made it 2-1. I'm like, okay, this offense is finally clicking. We finally have the pressure. And then we take, again, a bad penalty. Cirelli basically tackles Anderson, and they called it on Cirelli, and it was just a bad call. I felt they were both fighting for a puck that was going into the zone, and it was just something that you shouldn't really call at that point in the game, and it's a playoff game. And that made it 2-2 as Slavkov scores there, and we'll be hearing his name a lot coming up. As Lightning again take another bad penalty in the offensive zone in the early parts of the third period. And Slavkov buries that one. And it's frustrating because you want your team to obviously play well, and you want your power play and penalty kill, which was one of the best in the league, a top 3 penalty kill, top 5 penalty kill. And you want them to show up at the biggest moments, and tonight they did not. They just straight up did not, and that's frustrating, obviously. And this second goal wasn't on Vasilevsky at all, I don't think. I mean, they didn't cover the front of the net. It was just a smart play by the Canadiens to switch up where their players were. Lightning lost, went to Caulfield, passed in front, Slokiev scored. And it's, again, this one I did feel like Vasi could have stopped. It hit his pad and went through. And it was frustrating. And I was just like, bro, we're going to lose the game that we should have won. That's just and frustrating. And then Brandon Hagel tied the game at 3-3 about a couple minutes later. This was a beautiful pass from Jake Gensel, just a nice tip shot to find the stick of Hagel. That tied the game, and the Lightning had the pressure from now on until 20 seconds left in the third period. Lightning got really, really good chances, especially Kucherov, and this is when I might have seen the stupidest penalty I've ever seen a player take. Ryan McDonough shoots the puck with like 20 seconds left, just trying to keep it in the zone. It goes high up in the air, and Jake Gensel, for some reason, thinks he needs to go up and tip it. It would have been a high sticking if he did. And I'm trying to stay professional here because that's how I want this account to be. I want this to be a professional coverage and like that. But what is Jake Gensel thinking here? Like, honestly, what is he thinking is going to happen from this? He high sticks him, and Montreal goes to the power play. They don't score in the 20 seconds in the third, but about 20 seconds left on the power play. It's Jeremy Stolokov again for the hat trick to win it in overtime, and this is absolutely on Jake Gensel. It absolutely is, because the Lightning had all the momentum going into overtime until that penalty happened. And now getting into the breakdown and my thoughts, this was such a winnable game for the Lightning. It just straight up was. They outshot them for most of the game. They outplayed them for most of the game. It was just the power play that killed them. It was. It was. It straight up was the power play that killed them. And they got to fix that, because Montreal has a deadly power play. They do. We learned that tonight, that they have a deadly power play. And if you don't fix that, then what are you going to do? I mean, like, it's just a straight fact. What are you going to do? What are the Lightning going to do the next 2 days to fix what happened, what went wrong in this game? A game that they had in their hands and let slip away. And, you know, it's a tough loss. But the Lightning have faced adversity before. I mean, they dropped the first game of the Stanley Cup Final to Dallas. They dropped the first game of a couple series that they've won. But it's hard not to think about this and relate it to the previous 3 years and how they've lost games in those instances, like blowing the 3-goal lead to Toronto, which led to Toronto winning that series. And then a couple games of, what was it, Florida Game 4, I think. About to take both on the road, up with 2 minutes left. Florida scores 2 quick goals, and then they end up winning Game 4 and shutting down in Game 5. And this was definitely one of the most frustrating losses I've seen personally for the Lightning in a while. I mean, they were the better team tonight. They just straight up were. And it just sucks when you lose like that, you know? I mean, their face-off is horrible. That definitely needs to be solved in the offseason, is our face-off issue. I don't know what's going on with that. Lightning had 23 shots. Montreal had 19. And a lot of those came on power plays. So Montreal was at 9 midway through the second period. Or midway through the third period. They were at 9. They didn't get 10 shots, and the Lightning only got 7. So Lightning were dominating in the shot category. They had so much pressure, but they just let this one slip away. And it can be hard to bounce back from that. And the injuries that happened to Destu and James are going to really hurt, because those are players that are dependable and can bully people. And we don't know when Victor Hedman's coming back. He said he might be back for this series, but I honestly don't believe so. But Game 2 is Tuesday night at a time to be determined later. I think it's actually a 7:30 puck drop. I might be mistaken. But Lightning, that's a must-win game, I believe. If they win that one, then series is back on. If they lose that one, they're going to get either swept or lose in 5. Because the Canadiens are not dropping both in Montreal. That's just a straight-up fact. They're not dropping both in Montreal. So, winning Tuesday is important, and I think it's their season. Tuesday is their season, I believe. They just need to play like they want to win and not take dumb penalties. That's just straight up what they need to fix. Because I felt the offense played very well, and 5-on-5, they were very impressive. It's just the penalties that killed them. It just straight up was the penalties that killed them. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. We'll have some more Rays content coming out talking about the Pirates series that they just had over the weekend. And then obviously Tuesday night we'll have our breakdown of Game 2. But if you guys, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.